A year ago, Lois and I were in Maine to perform a wedding for my grandson. And when we were there, we were down at the port in uh, Portland, Maine, and we saw this fence alongside of one of the little harbors. And on the fence were thousands and thousands of padlocks. And we asked one of the locals what that was all about. And they said, those are love locks. I said, love locks? What is that all about? And they said, well, couples, in order to show their love for one another, would take locks and either scratch or engrave into a lock their names and then lock it to the fence and throw the key away into the bay. And it's a symbol of their enduring love, love locked in forever. Problem was, while this had happened along several of the bay areas there, the locks became so heavy that the entire fence, which was to keep people from falling in, not for locks, but the entire fence was under so much strain from all of the weight of the locks that the fence actually started to crack the concrete and was in danger of falling into the bay. And so on a couple of these love lock fences, they literally had to cut every lock off and replace the fence and then put up a sign saying no locks on the fence. Well, I understand that this wasn't just in Portland, Maine, that these love locks are on bridges and gates and fences in China, in France, in Australia, in Czechoslovakia, in Serbia, Spain, Mexico, and Ireland. And so this is not just something that's unique to Maine. It's a cute idea, and of course the people that sell the locks in adjoining stores love the fact that they can get a premium for a standard padlock and charge for engraving the names on the locks. And yet the municipalities of Maine, at least, are not too thrilled with the fact that they're constantly having to replace these fences and reinforce the concrete because of the weight of the locks. Well, I said all of that to say this. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2 says, therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children and walk in love, just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God as a fragrant aroma. Now, I know that we are commanded to love one another, but I'd like to suggest two things out of this devotion and out of these love locks, particularly the ones that I saw in Maine. The first thing is it's a wonderful thing to constantly remind yourself that we're to be like God and we're to walk in love just as Christ loved us. But I find a little difference between this love that Christ had for us and the love that we're called to have for one another. You see, I think sometimes the love that we're called on to have for one another is kind of like all of the locks on that chain link fence, where it becomes such a strain, and some of these people that lock on to us and want our unconditional love as Christ loved us become a danger by the demands that they put upon our love, that we might collapse just like that fence in the Portland port. The second thing, of course, is that I love the illustration of the fact that this is an everlasting love. And unlike the city of Portland, Maine, who was able to take bolt cutters and cut these locks off, nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. So I too see two principles here. One is to remind us of the unconditional love that Christ has for us and the fact that it cannot be broken. The foundation cannot be moved, as with these chain link fence sections, nor can the weight of that love ever exceed Christ's ability to continue to love us. But I also see the danger that sometimes the demands that some brothers and sisters put upon us put us in jeopardy of cracking the foundation and of overloading the fence to a place where it's really tough to love one another. And So I hope that today, as you think about this devotion, you'll think about the demands that you put upon people with your demands. Is it exceeding what humans can handle in the way of a love lock? And if you're doing that, maybe it's time to back off a little bit and not expect so much out of each other. The second principle, of course, is that when we lock on with love, that we should remember that Christ loved us so much that he was willing to die on the cross for us. And no matter what happens, nothing can separate us from that love. And that's your thought for the day. God bless you. And love lock in there, but don't put too much strain on that love relationship with humans, because that can be broken. The love lock that we have with Christ can't be broken. God bless you.